Hello, my name is Simon Miller from What Culture Wrestling, and you are listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast, and you better keep listening to it. Why? Here's why.
You're listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast, a sample of the best pro wrestling podcasts we can produce on our tiny budget. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, CastBox, and all other podcast platforms. If it's wrestling you want, check out more of our great content at podmania.co.uk. Let's do this.
Welcome to another episode of the PodMania Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined by Chris O'Brien and Garth. We are getting into the issues today, ladies and gentlemen. No lists, no reviews, just opinions. So let's start with an interesting topic. Chris, what is your beef with Noel Gallagher's new song?
I don't have any beef with it. I think it's fine, but the fact that Garth comes along and goes, it's his best one since 2002. Fuck off, Garth.
Hey, look,
listen to his first album.
Heel?
His first album is a masterpiece. Second album, not quite a masterpiece. So some fucking bops on there. Riverman, great song. You know, we can't go back. A little bit of Oasis, a fucking classic. His third album, a bit weird. A little bit weird. But you know what? Some people can take that, Garth. Apparently not you. Been around for music for years, but apparently can't take it. Jesus Christ, Garth. And you think it's a bit of a boring song. That's the thing. And Garth is like, oh, it's the best one. Fuck off, Garth.
But it's Christmas.
It is Christmas. What's it?
Has Christmas bells in it and has a good video.
What's everyone's favourite Christmas song?
Before we get going, right.
We were laughing at him before the podcast came on for drinking peppermint tea. Now I bet he just snuck that in so we could try and look cool.
Do you know what though? We're not 100% sure whether that is a bottle opening or a pellet falling out of his shotgun. So.
Oh, well, kill yourself with a shotgun. That's not really ergonomic, is it?
No, not really. Not in the
like,
slightest.
If I do suicide a lot, so I can somewhat speak to this. If you're going to give yourself a gun, it's a really bad way to do it.
As a disclaimer for everybody listening, this is going to be an absolute shit show.
Basically, ladies and gentlemen, we were supposed to record on Friday night, but Rob got drunk. So we couldn't record on Friday because I kept
so drunk, but he himself in the third person.
Basically, I kept pushing the recording date backwards and backwards and backwards until it turned into about 2 a.m. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it, guys. I'll be perfectly honest. So rather than come up with a list or any sort of structure to what we're going to do to this podcast, we just got a general discussion. And we've got some interesting topics, and I'm sure we're going to have some interesting takes. I simply cannot wait to just drop the Jim Cornette name and watch Chris and Garth go at it like hungry jackals.
That's what the group chat is nowadays.
It is. It's Garth and Chris arguing about Jim Cornette, and me just sitting back with 48 notifications going, oh, I need to mute this chat. But first of all, boys and girls, we have a new face in the Firefly Funhouse. Now, this was given to us by Fox WWE Twitter page, which is an absolute minefield of gold. It is absolutely brilliant. But they said that Bray Wyatt would be introducing a new face to the Firefly Funhouse, so everybody, of course, on the internet went, it's definitely Liv Morgan. So we tuned in to be completely rickrolled in the fact that Bray Wyatt has just come up with a title belt with his own face on it. Now, I'm all for personalised championships. I'm all for custom championships. I'm all for the one that Bray Wyatt had when he wasn't champion. Now, first of all, before I ask your opinion, have you seen the price that they are currently selling the replica belts for?
Isn't it $1,650?
Okay, Garth, what do you think it is?
$6,500.
$6,499.99.
Do you know why?
It's the real
It's been
reason.
made by Tom Savini, horror legend.
Who?
Yeah.
It
Tom
could.
Savini. He's like a Hollywood monster maker.
Okay, what's he done?
Bray Wyatt's mask.
When he did like stuff on The Thing. He did stuff on what the fuck do you call it? Dusk Till Dawn, all that sort of stuff, like monster makeup and stuff.
But I've probably not seen any of his work.
Oh, he's great. I love it.
Would you pay
but,
$7,000 for it though, Garth?
But they are, the reason it is because they're all handmade by him and numbered and signed. They're only made like a limited edition.
I'm going to wait for the $50 one from WWE Shop.
And I'm going to wait for the 20 quid one that's just like foam and plastic.
I really hope they're selling them at UK Takeover.
Anyway, so like, do you have any idea how many bubble teas you can get for $6,000? I'm a student. $6,000 is about as much as I make in a year right now.
You're a student. You make money.
Yeah, well, yeah, because up here, student loans, you're not obligated to pay them back.
Right.
Fucking prick.
I've never heard so angry at me.
Anyway,
Scotland.
shut up.
What's the opinions?
Anyway, opinion on the belt is where I was going with this. Garth, let's start with you because I'm annoyed with Chris.
I like it. It's, to be fair, it's quite simple. It's basically his face stretched across it in a sort of gross way with, what is it, hurt and heal written all over it.
Yeah, and then let him in, I think, across the strap as
Yeah.
well.
I think is it supposed to be made to look like he's just knocked it up himself?
I don't really know. I think it's just, to be honest, when I first saw it, I hated it. I thought it looked cheap. I thought it looked shit. But when you actually see it all stretched out and actually in its full glory, it actually looks pretty cool. You can see all the stitching and everything like that.
It's sort of in the shape of the North American title from NXT.
Yeah, I suppose in a way.
Not in the spirit.
I think it's supposed to look. It's not supposed to look like it's been stretched over the title.
Yeah, like have you guys ever read the Batman story, Killing the Family?
Yeah, where he cuts that guy's face off and wears it.
No,
sorry, cuts off his own face and gives it to the doll maker.
No, he cuts it off his own face and wears it. Well, he cut off his own face in Detective Comics #1, and then kind of stole it back because the police kept it as evidence.
Nice.
Because Bants, apparently.
Yeah, Bants.
Chris, what do you think of the belt?
It's fine. Like, it's a really good custom belt, but also we just did the custom belt thing with Daniel Bryan.
We did, but I like the idea that we're going wholeheartedly into the whole Bray Wyatt is a split personality thing. So Bray Wyatt has got a belt and the Fiend has got a belt. I quite like that idea. And I quite like the idea that it is completely different to anything we've seen. We haven't got that stupid fucking W on it. So, yeah, I didn't like it. I'm not too fussed about it now.
Honestly, I think you mostly like it because Bray Wyatt's like your boyfriend or something. So.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because yes, I love the man. I want to have his weird Fiend babies. However, something I'm not a fucking fan of is the...
I'm just imagining you now giving birth to him. It's like, oh, good news. It's a boy. Bad news, you've blown your fucking cock off.
One thing I'm not a fan of Bray Wyatt is the idea that is being currently apparently bandied about by WWE Creative. Now, recently, we did a review, ladies and gentlemen, of WWF SummerSlam 1994. And Chris, what was the main event of that?
It was are we doing Bray Wyatt versus Bray Wyatt?
Apparently, one of the ideas being bandied about, not at Mania. Apparently, Mania is already sorted. They've apparently already got the match for Bray. But apparently, something they are looking at doing is Bray Wyatt versus Bray Wyatt, because WWE can't let us have nice things, guys. WWE can't let us have things that we enjoy or repeatedly watch on YouTube. No. They've got to stick their stupid fucking fingers in it and mess with it. So yes, we could apparently be getting the absolute shit show. We didn't want Undertaker versus Undertaker, but instead, on top of that, we also had Kane versus Kane, which was, a 10-star PodMania classic, and then we followed it up with Bray versus Bray. I'd like your general opinions on that absolute fucking shower of liquid dog shit.
Who the fuck are they going to get to play The Fiend?
I have a rather vulgar analogy for this.
Go on.
Okay, so The Fiend is a fingering. You're enjoying yourself, and progressively they've been put more in, and you think you're fine, you think you're full, but then the dude's a cunt and just starts fisting you. That's basically what WWE is. WWE is a fist that ruins your cunt.
When I first started this podcast and I put the podcast on the hosting site, I had to check a box as to whether this podcast has explicit language in it. I put yes, thinking, I'll probably drop the old F-bomb or anything like that. I never thought I'd have to hear the word fisting the cunt on my own podcast.
Quite so regularly as well.
It's every episode.
When we do this weekly, you just sort of get accustomed to me. But now it's been like 10 days since we last recorded with Rob. He just doesn't know how to take me at this point.
It's like I'm desensitized to him while I'm podcasting with him. Then if I have any sort of time off, I'm like, fucking hell, I forgot just how Scottish he was.
This is like people must tune in for this shit. For Chris's fucking analogies. It's like, this is the reason why people must tune in to listen to Jim Cornette.
Except I'm not a massive cunt gaff. Well, I am, but I'm not racist and I'm not sexist. So.
Right. Well, this seems like an interesting segue. Before we do segue, I don't know who they're going to get to play Bray Wyatt or The Fiend.
Is it going to be Husky Harris?
Interesting.
Hey.
Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. I think he went down to...
because he was shit.
I think he went down to Mexico to work with the orphans of El Generico.
He could have done. So, Jim Cornette then, guys. Now, Chris, wait.
They're nice.
Wait.
All right.
So basically, Jim Cornette was, and I use was, the colour guy for the new NWA show Power, which I think we've all watched at least one episode of.
I've watched about the run so far. Really enjoyed it, but I've also not had the time to watch all the wrestling I want to. So. No,
I'm exactly the same. Enjoyed the bits that I've watched. Haven't been able to watch it all. Garth, it seems right up your alley because it's old.
The promos have been like Nick Aldis has been great. Like, his promos are just unbelievable. Well, not unbelievable, but like, they're very believable, but just really good.
Yeah, I mean, their pay-per-view actually is it's 2 weeks today, I believe. Into the Fire, isn't it? The 15th?
I will be pirating the fuck out of that.
You probably won't need to. They'll probably put it on YouTube.
Probably. The main event, apparently, that is Aldis versus James Storm, which I'd be fully into that.
Because the build for that's been excellent.
Yeah.
Because, they've actually kept them apart all this time.
They've been on the exercise of tag matches, but, that's just how you do it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I don't think I'm out of line by saying that they are the two biggest stars in the NWA at the moment.
Yeah. Not my two favourite, though. I really hope we do something good with Eddie Kingston.
Well, there's Eddie Kingston, there's Eli Drake. Even Caleb Conley's decent.
Tim Storm.
Murdoch.
I was surprised how all right.
Speaking of Murdoch, we talked about Jim Cornette a couple of minutes ago. He has recently resigned from his post as colour commentator on the NWA show Power for unfavourable remarks toward friend of the show Trevor Murdoch in his match with Nick Aldis. Now, what he said was in relation to chicken, a bike, and Ethiopia. I'm not going to repeat the entire quote because I like the podcast and I don't want it to be taken down. Well, actually, I've said that, and then immediately in my head, I've just gone, yeah, but Chris has just said about fisting in the cunt, so I think we're probably fine.
We haven't been cancelled by now.
Yeah, that is true.
We
Garth.
got close.
Say again.
We got close with the Manchester thing.
We did get close. It's all right. That got cut out. Nobody knows about that.
Yeah, you've just sort of given away what it is, you cunt.
No, he hasn't. Stop calling people cunts.
Could have been anything. Could have been Manchester United.
Who are doing terribly, by the way.
I know all the footballs. You know, normally when 22 men chase after balls, it's considered quite feminine. But as soon as I point that out, suddenly I'm the gay one. Anyway, go on.
Garth, opinion on Cornette. Go.
Well, everybody knows I like Cornette. I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, but I think you have to not take everything he says with a pinch of salt because it comes out of his mouth. But I think he says a lot of stuff without fucking engaging his brain. I listened to his podcast after this, and he brought it up. It was the main sort of part of his thing, and I think he said it's a joke that he's used a number of times in the past, and it's never been picked up. This time it got picked up because he's used it, and the world is a different place, basically. Which, I mean, what he said was fucking stupid, and the jokes about Ethiopians, it was a thing in the past. People used to joke, like people like Eddie Murphy, all those people have done it in the past, but most people have left that shit behind because it's not fucking funny anymore. He doesn't seem to have, but I say that, all the fucking people coming out the woodwork condemning him, like fucking, he should be sacked, he should never work again, all this bullshit. It's like, yeah, I bet you laughed at fucking Starving Marvin on South Park, and I bet they did, and I bet they still laugh at all the fucking unsavory jokes on Family Guy and all that shit. So there's a massive fucking hypocrisy on the internet at the moment of people witch hunts. That's what it is. Everybody jumps on Cornette now for anything he fucking says because he's prime target, and he sets himself up for this stupid shit because he's a bit of an idiot. But yeah, jumped before he got pushed, I guess, and I agree. Yeah, he shouldn't be fucking on TV if he's doing that. But that said, I do still think he has stuff to offer if it comes to creative or just where he's not mouthing off on telly. But yeah, I think he got his just desserts, but I think people do still go overboard with him. He's a almost 70-year-old Southern American man who probably holds the same values as quite a lot of those people, but he just seems that he has a public platform that gets out there, and some of it is quite offensive. But yeah, he got what he deserved, but I still do think people are a little bit shit hot to jump on all the bad stuff he does, but doesn't ever highlight the good stuff he's done. So yeah, he gets what he deserves, like I say, but I still like Jim Cornette.
Counterpoint.
I don't think he is inherently trying to be horrible to people. I don't think he means to be horrible. That's just an analogy that popped into his brain, and he said it.
When it comes to this remark, it's a sackable offence, but on its own, it's not a reason to never work in the business again. However, Jim Cornette's fucking history is good reason for him not to be working in the history again. The man has physically assaulted wrestlers. The man has alienated basically every company he has ever worked with. And like, and you say he doesn't do this on purpose, but he does it with such regularity and with such hyperbole that if he's not being hyperbolic, it just means he's mentally nourished. Jesus Christ. Like, implying that Justin Roberts is a paedophile because he don't like AEW is a fucking suable offence. That's a libel offence. And he gets away with it because, it's kooky old Jim Cornette. I disagree with you, Gav. I think people have given Jim Cornette a lot of leeway, and it's just recently it snapped where it's like, oh yeah, he's just a bitter fucking cunt. Literally, the reason he can't hold down a job in the industry, and honestly, if this was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd be inclined to agree with you, be as something to offer, but like he's been in like every conceivable role in the past few years, and none of them have worked out. Booker in Ring of Honor didn't work out. He alienated all the talent. He was the owner of, no, not the owner, but like he was the main guy in OVW and got fired for fucking sacking a wrestler and apparently threatened Brock Lesnar with a gun. This is a very recent example of that, but also with Impact, he couldn't follow around with Impact with assault charges, and he just starts fights where there needn't be fights. Like he keeps trying to start fights with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks because he knows that's where the money is. Like
that's all the publicity thing, wasn't it?
No, but that's the thing. Saying shitty things for publicity is not that's not a good thing. And I don't like the fact that he gets attention. Honestly, I don't like the fact that we're talking about him. I would rather he just sort of disappear into the background. I understand the need for old school voices, and because Garth's right. Sometimes on his podcast, between the profanities, he brings up legitimate points. And honestly, I used to be able to see past that. But like, especially when it comes to like, because I have listened to some of his AEW stuff, partly on the recommendation of Gaff, and some of it's just so petty, like the Rio versus Shida match from All Out. He was like, well, why would I want to watch little skill girls fighting? I'm like, have you seen fucking Shida? Like, have you seen her? She does not look young.
To be fair, he's on one of the recent ones. He did say she was the best of the lot. I think the whole thing with him is it's Rio, and I kind of get it because when I watch it, I'm a little bit.
Rio does look very young. We'll get onto this in a topic we're doing later.
Yeah, but I was just thinking it's kind of really stretching the disbelief at this point. And I think that's what the thing is with him is he doesn't know how to convey it that way.
The thing is, he shits on comedy wrestling. He was a comedy wrestler. Did you see that he blocked Brian Zane?
Oh, that was fucking.
Because literally what happened, people were attacking Brian Zane all weekend for his opinion on wrestling, and it's like Cornette people. He never directly engaged with Cornette once in this whole thing. He then put up an analogy of imagine going to the circus and being pissed off when the clowns turn up. And then Jim Cornette was like, oh, interesting take, and then blocked him. And it's sort of like, you're that like that's the problem with Jim Cornette. He's literally not receptive to other opinions. He literally just saw a different opinion on Twitter and decided to block a public associate, like someone he's publicly associated with.
It's odd because him and Thingy were apparently friendly as well, quite friendly.
They were friendly. Like they did. Cornette did an interview with Zayn. He's made cameos. There was a running joke on the Wrestling with Regret show that Jim Cornette was Brian Zayn's dad.
See, this is why a lot of it, I just think, have they not? Surely, they would have spoke about this if they're friendly and they know have each other's numbers and shit.
Cornette has gotten a lot worse about it. He used to be like a lot softer on it. Like the only thing he'd really complain about is Kenny Omega because of a beef from 20 years ago. Like I saw Dave Meltzer put up that Jim Cornette is a really great wrestling mind who has started feuds with the wrong people, but he fucking instigates it. Like every bad thing that's happened to Jim Cornette basically has been brought on by Jim Cornette.
This is what makes us think that his Twitter stuff is so much a fucking. It's him working the way he thinks. Like controversy. Everything he says has to be controversial. You never see him say something like that was a great match.
But that's the thing, he does praise matches, and I can talk about that in a second. But like, that doesn't make it right. Just because you think it's going to get you, like, if a YouTuber was doing the same shit Jim Cornette was, we'd be all the fuck over him. But we're more forgiving to him because of his past in the wrestling business. But again, his past in the wrestling business is why he shouldn't have a future in this business. Like I admire him as an historian. I actually do enjoy hearing him talk about old school wrestling, the way wrestling used to be, because it's a novelty. But I also don't want wrestling to be the way it used to be. I don't want people being threatened with getting stabbed. I don't want the off business dealings. I don't want like everyone just to be working towards wrestles, which is what he wants. And like, it's fine. That's what he wants. Wrestling is very broad now. There will be a place that caters to that. NWA was a place that caters to that. But like, he's so annoyed that other wrestling draws, and he's like, "Well, this will never draw." Well, it fucking is, Jim. And like, But he thinks his idea of wrestling the only thing that draws. And then you look at New Japan selling 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome, and he thinks New Japan's garbage fucking wrestling. You look at him thinking Lucha Underground will never go anywhere. For a time, that was like a destination for a lot of people. It's sort of falling apart now. You see him thinking Ring of Honor would never draw without him. Well, Ring of Honor had 3 of their best years with right after Jim Cornette left, and then 2 of their worst years recently. But like that's not Jim Cornette's doing. So just you can fuck off. Quite frankly, like he's had more than his fair share of chances. People have been had their lives and livelihood ruined over much less than what Jim Cornette has done in the last few years.
Right. So, we've got a good 20 minutes of content there.
I really like how Rob just didn't want to put him in the picture. Like, Rob is the equivalent of those 2 friends arguing over politics, and he just really respects the private ballot.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in now.
Oh, right. I thought you were, because your tone was sort of like, okay, and let's move on.
Oh, no. No, I just wanted to tie it all off. So, I agree with Chris. The stuff that he says should not be allowed. The way he expresses himself, the way he critiques things, that's not okay. You know, it's all right.
I'm surprised.
Go on.
I'm surprised he hasn't been fucking shafted on. I'm surprised he hasn't been kicked off Twitter.
I'm surprised as well.
Yeah. Surely, if that many people are getting hot about it, loads of people will be complaining to Twitter about it.
We got suspended.
I mean, look how quickly we got shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
We got suspended for 2 days because they called a cunt a cunt.
Exactly. So how come he's not getting shut down? If people are complaining, or people not complaining?
It's, you know what? It's because they probably get probably has something in place where if someone's getting max thing, they just assume it's a political thing.
I think people aren't because they perversely enjoy it. I think people perversely enjoy it.
I don't think so. In a lot of cases.
I think he needs to update himself in a lot of what he does. I think his Twitter and his social media presence should be completely eradicated. I think the way he uses Twitter is wrong. It's all very well being who he is. You know, I've listened to his podcast. He makes absolutely valid points. I mean, we've talked about AEW. He's made good points about AEW, both negative and positive. But the way he says things cannot be allowed. However, I can also see where Garth is coming from. There are people, and it seems to be the last two years that there seems to be more and more Cornette controversy. And that is on Jim Cornette. That is on the stuff Jim Cornette says. But these people who, like Garth says, crawl out of the woodwork are the same people that watch the exact same thing on Family Guy, on South Park, go and see comedians doing shit like this on a regular basis, but then call out Jim Cornette on it because they don't like Jim Cornette. I'm not saying Jim Cornette shouldn't be called out on what he says. There's absolutely not a chance that anyone in their right mind should be calling for anyone to hang themselves, for anyone to stab themselves, for anyone to die. There's just no platform for that, especially not in professional wrestling, where there is such a horrible history of, suicide and mental health issues and all this. There shouldn't be an added spark on top of that. But if you are one of those people who gets on at Jim Cornette for the things he says, then goes and watches South Park and Family Guy and things like that, then have you people in glass houses, Well,
I'll say the Family Guy comparison is a lot more apt than the South Park comparison, because the South Park comparison, at least jokes a lot of times have like a political point. Whether or not you feel they land is a very different matter, whereas Family Guy is sort of shock humor for the sake of shock humor. Like, I defend on the South Park front, not necessarily the Family Guy front. Like, Family Guy is just an awful, vile show.
I love the fact that is the only issue you had with my argument. But I agree with both of you. I think we can all agree that Jim Cornette resigned and probably was going to be fired for a horrendous comment that he absolutely should not have made. But, yeah.
The thing I've noticed as well is, especially in some of the groups that I'm in, it's the same fucking people who post the Jim Cornette stuff every time. And I'm just thinking, why don't you just fucking block them? Don't see it?
Because that's the thing. I only ever hear about Jim Cornette shit when people in like the same groups as me and Garth are in post them. And I'm sort of like, can we just ignore him, please?
I follow him on Twitter and I don't even see that shit.
No, I follow him on Twitter, and the only time I ever see it is when people retweet it.
No, exactly. Same here. Like I only ever see
Just
it when
fucking ignore him.
I really wish people would ignore him because then I'd have to I'd be able to stop seeing it.
The sad thing is that Jim Cornette, and I know this is going to be a controversy, Jim Cornette isn't relevant anymore. He hasn't been relevant for years, and I think that lack of relevance bugs Jim Cornette, and that's why he started the feud with, everyone on Twitter. And the more retweets he gets, the more mentions he gets, the more comments he gets, he feels like he has a relevance. And I'm not saying that he hasn't got a place in wrestling. I'm not saying that he isn't an absolutely outstanding wrestling mind. What I'm saying is he conducts himself like a cunt.
But the thing is, there is a place for like an old school way of thinking, but like you have to bring, like, look at Paul Heyman. He was around the same time as Jim Cornette. He evolves with the time. Same with Dutch.
He's a trendsetter, though, isn't he? He's always ahead of the curve.
But so was Jim Cornette. Like Jim Cornette was one of those people who really championed like Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid back in the 80s, and that's ended up being the style to define the modern indie style. And it's sort of
which is ironically what he hates.
No, ironically, that is what you hate. And it's sort of like, you look at a lot of those Tiger Mask matches and it's like, all the shit that you complain about, like this flash for the sake of flash, that was a lot of the original Tiger Mask. Like, the original Tiger Mask didn't need to do half the shit he did.
I think what Cornette means on a lot of it is there's too much of it that is very similar, and I do agree with that, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But
and once again, he makes legitimate points, but it's between points of him telling people to
it's the way
to hang someone because they're not wearing a fucking suit and tie.
It's the way that he tries to get it across. That's the problem. It's not the point he's trying to make. It's the way.
But like what you're talking like, it's not the content. It is still the content, because that's what people go to Cornette for. And like he's inherently divisive because like if you ever come across a Jim Cornette follower, they're the fucking like it's them and Joshi fans, and I'm speaking as a fucking Joshi fan. They're the fucking worst.
So you love Joshi fans?
Have you seen that one Joshi cunt in fucking Inside the Rope?
Don't call him out. Don't call him out.
Mate, listen.
I'm not
this might be where he comes for his Japanese shit.
True. Yeah. His ice ribbon matches.
But I'm not even recommending shit. But like people will be talking about something and it will recommend a completely irrelevant match. Like people were talking about Moxley versus Omega, and then he comes along going, "Hey, you should watch Omega's DDT thing. It's much better." It's like, yeah, cool, that's fine, but also fucking just recommend it on a different thread. Stop fucking muscling in on other conversation. It's the equivalent of like if me and someone else were talking about music and then someone knocked in with a fucking demo tape of that fucking band. Fuck off! I kick them in the balls and walk away. Fuck off.
And on that note,
I think we've done Cornette to death. I think basically what
it's all hot under the collar.
Yeah, I think what we've narrowed it down to is he's a cunt with outdated views, but still has a good wrestling mind. That's basically where we've come down. I think. Moving on. Last weekend we had 2 WWE pay-per-views. The first was NXT TakeOver War Games 2019, and followed the next day by Survivor Series 2019. Survivor Series, of course, this year being the first year where NXT was sort of recognised as a third brand as opposed to a developmental territory. Starting with War Games then, all 3 of us have watched War Games. Chris, I'll start with you and then move on to Garth. What were your opinions of the show, favourite moments, things that could have improved, that kind of thing?
What TakeOvers are right now for me is, you know how when the Strokes released Is This It and then nothing touched it ever again?
Yes.
That's kind of what TakeOvers are like for me right now. New York was so fucking good. And then every other one since has sort of been fine. Like, there may be a match of the year contender, but like compared to New York, which had literally 5 match of the year contenders at the time.
It did spoil us somewhat because we had the Adam Cole Johnny Gargano match, we had the Pete Dunne Walter match. It did spoil us somewhat.
Great. And then now we sort of like it's still a really, really, really enjoyable show. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just like I believe the lowest on there was a 7. That's spectacular. But
what was your favourite match, Chris?
You know what? I feel like this is going a bit against what I rated it, but I had more fun watching the women's War Games than I did the men's.
Okay.
Mostly because of the heel turn. Dakota Kai's one of my favorites. So I'm like, oh good, she's finally getting a fucking storyline. I was really sorry for Tegan Nox though.
God, I love Tegan Nox. She's ace.
She's so good, and like she didn't get to perform, but also this will lead to a wider storyline, which I'm completely fine with. All the women in the match had time to shine. I was so happy Kaylee Ray got a platform because she hasn't really take over Cardiff. She didn't get a proper platform because that last match went less than 10 minutes. So. Like she hasn't had a proper chance to show what she can do, and she's just so good. Like not even just in how she works, but her heel work. People were getting ready for this massive spot through chairs, and then before she climbs up, she just takes the chairs down. I love that. I was just like, oh, that's just it's such a simple heel shit, but nobody does it.
What was your least favorite match?
I think it's unfair to say least favorite because it's still really good, but the Dunn triple threat. Because, quite frankly, Damien fucking Priest. Fuck off.
I'm going to offer my opinions. I was just going to say, I'm going to offer my opinions now before. I actually thought Damien Priest did well. Now, when we used to watch Ring of Honor, Punishment Martinez was never the greatest in the ring. In fact, he pretty much stunk up the place. But in this match, don't get me wrong, he was with Killian Dane, he was with Pete Dunne, who were both very, very good workers. But I thought he held his own. My main issue with that match was that it went hella long.
Oh, it went way too fucking long, yeah.
I mean, we had someone kick out of the bitter end, which just doesn't happen. We had Killian Dane. I love Killian Dane. Why the fuck was he in that match?
I can.
No. Not storyline wise. Storyline wise, I agree that should have been a triple threat. But he did nothing, and in fact, for the vast majority of the match, he was a non-factor. It was Damien Priest and Pete Dunne, and I think all three of us can agree that. Can you remember, apart from one Ulster Plantation, can you remember one move really from Big Damo? Killian Dane, sorry.
No, for some reason in my head, I thought he did a coast to coast, but then I realised that's just what happened last summer for him in ICW.
Fair play to Damien Priest, by the way, since we're talking about Damien Priest. Fair play for the completely out of fucking nowhere jumping over the post and onto the outside. Yeah, that was the Undertaker thing, yeah. Great. It was brilliant.
And also him incorporating the Marufuji kicks, they kind of fit him quite well, so I think he should keep doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's working with it. It's his first takeover match. They didn't overuse him at Survivor Series, which I thought was a good shout. But yeah, overall, I thought this takeover was really, really good. I think me, you, Garth, and Dave Meltzer, which is always good, agreed on ratings as well. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. I thought Riddle and Balor was a really good match. Short, punchy, was exactly what we needed after that triple threat went long. I thought the women's War Games match, I thought the men's War Games match was better, but I enjoyed the women's more.
It was... that's kind of where I'm coming from. Whereas the men's was more better, but that's because there's more bodies. There was the two bodies taken out of.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the men's one didn't really make a star. Keith Lee was made a star this weekend, but that was mostly due to the events of the next night. Rhea Ripley from War Games and Survivor Series, she's a fucking star now. And to be fair,
she's 23.
I thought she was 20. I thought she was my age. She's a year older than me. But I look at Rhea.
23 years old, and she did that.
And I think I'm a fucking failure because I'm not where she is right
now. I mean, yeah, I agree. I did have a couple of issues, like Adam Cole spending 4.5 years on the outside of the War Games match, Big Damo doing absolutely fuck all in that triple threat. I really enjoyed Kaylee Ray. She was there primarily to take the big spots. I think she got hit by 3 big spots in that match.
No, when Mauro Ranallo went, she's someone with a complete disregard of her body. That's more her ICW thing than NXT UK. then I was like, oh fuck, she's gonna take so many spots, isn't she? Because to be fair, Kaylee Ray is probably the safest worker in that match.
Oh god, yeah. I mean,
but like, it's not even fact saying the other people are unsafe, but like, you have Io Shirai, who like will jump off of anything, and you have Bianca Belair, who's like, basically the ultimate warrior of the NXT Women's division, and that she can't fucking work, and Rhea Ripley, who's like she's still kind of green. Rhea, she's really good, but she's still kind of green, and Shayna, who is good, but she's not a fucking ring general. So
not yet, but I think
you said not. She's like 39, isn't she? She's pushing 40.
Yeah, I know, but what you've got to realise, Chris, is she has been in the WWE for what? She wasn't in there in 2017. She was start of 2018, was she? Shayna Baszler?
No, it's 2017 Mayhem Classic she came in, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so as a full-time NXT competitor, we're looking at the end of 2017, early.
Very true. She has come on in leaps and bounds, but also
hugely.
We have this discussion every takeover. Like, I'm sort of getting sick of it, but like this takeover was sort of help because it wasn't like sort of like your standard Shayna match. Shayna definitely has a Shayna match.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, and that I think is what hindered the main event of Survivor Series. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Garth, what were your opinions of War Games, mate?
I really enjoyed it. Like we've said, it doesn't hit like the dizzy heights that the others have, but I think, like you say, it's just we've been spoiled by those so much that it's not fair to judge us against them. But it was still like really enjoyed it, and it was another one of those ones where the time just seemed to fly by. I sort of got to the main event. I was like, shit, we're almost done, sort of thing. So it was really enjoyable. I think on the Shayna front, I think we need to get past that fact that everyone has to be a great worker. I don't think you have to be. She doesn't need to be a really good wrestler. I think
we've also had this discussion. I like the idea of a dominant champion who doesn't have a great match because it will be massive when she's been beat. But she's been beat, so that storyline's been spent.
I just like how she's more, rather than be a great wrestler, she's a good sniper in the ring. She knows how to beat people and how to do so with minimum sort of effort, really. I mean, obviously she was made to really work for it. War Games, but normally she's just quite sort of dominant after a while. But no, I think I really did enjoy the women's War Games. My favorite part was obviously the quote unquote swerve.
But no, we all saw that coming a mile off.
Yeah, I think all three of us called that.
Yeah, I think it was obvious, but I just thought the way they did it was excellent. Basically straight away.
Yeah,
it wasn't like done in the match or anything. It was just straight away.
I didn't know Coach would replace Mia Yim because Mia Yim was still doing like selfies from the back of Takeover. It was actually quite funny.
Yeah.
She put up. She did like a. Was it Bo? I forget who did. It was Bo Nakano. The Bo Nakano makeup.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then someone went, it didn't work for Margot Rawley. Why do you think it worked for you? She's like, it's a tribute to Bill Nakano, you fucking cretin.
I am quite glad that Mia Yim wasn't in that match. And I know Mia Yim's great, and I know Chris is going to go, you ought to see some of these matches. And I know you're going to say that, Chris. But that match that she had with Shayna was dreadful. It was not a good match.
Not on Yim, though.
But you say it's not Yim's fault, and I'm not saying it's Yim's fault. I've seen one match. I'm saying she should share blame because to me that's Shayna's worst match as well.
No, I'm going to say Shayna's first match with Ember was worse.
I think that was different. I don't think that was worse. I think that was booking as opposed to working. They needed to find a way of keeping a championship on Ember without making Shayna look bad, and I think they booked themselves into a corner, and that led to a shoddy match. I don't think that was either competitor's fault.
Anyway, I don't know why we didn't just put it on Shayna.
So my question now, Garth.
I was going to say, like, of all the matches that, I mean, as much as I enjoyed the men's, I thought it went a bit long. I just, up to that point, the time had flown, and then I did find myself thinking, how many more big spots are they going to put in here? Because you could see them build into it, and then obviously the Ciampa sort of fucking suicide jump off the through the tables with Cole was fucking unbelievable. But every time I see something like that now, I think, so how the fuck are they going to top that next time? Because they have to. They always feel like they have to. But this is going to shock you. But the match I actually enjoyed the most was the Matt Riddle Finn Balor match.
Yeah, I like the Matt Riddle match.
I thought that was an excellent match.
It was a very good match. It's nice
Do you know
to
what?
see.
I thought,
You know what?
it was Finn Balor. He's changed his moveset. He's done everything different.
I knew you were going to say that, and I love
Well,
it. Go on, Chris.
Two points about that match. First of all, foot fetishists must love Matt Riddle.
The fuck has that got to do with anything?
Right, okay. No, because that's what distracted me while I was watching this match, because I watched it early in the morning because it's my nephew's christening that day. Fucking idiot trying to get saved from a hell that doesn't exist. But
You're targeting everyone today, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very equal opportunity. So I was watching it quite tired. I'm like, if you think I come out with random thoughts like during the day, you should see me when I'm really tired. And I was like, and I just thought, fucking, someone's getting off on the fact that Matt Riddle never wears shoes. And I was like, oh god. And I almost Googled to see if it was true, but I didn't bother. Anyway, also, I love I like how Balor's making references to Prince Devitt without it being over the top, like sort of how like the OC are so overtly Bullet Club that it actually fucking hurts. Whereas he's just making little remarks.
The Prince is back.
Yeah, he's like making little callbacks to Prince Devitt, but also like not just being like the real rock and roller.
He's just. This is what we wanted on the main roster, and it's just ridiculous that all it took was a brand switch for him to become this badass again.
This could save him in WWE. This
100%, 100%.
This NXT run.
I mean, he's going to have a faction around him at some point, surely.
Yeah.
Who's going to be in this faction? Because it can't be any Bullet Club people, can it?
Okay.
Because NXT already have a big heel faction unless we're trying to turn Undisputed Era face.
I think Undisputed Era face anyway, inadvertently.
I think they're sort of they're like the sort of Stone Cold Cool now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to think who's on NXT roster.
I think if you take some younger guys, that could be really good. Take a younger Giant, take a younger Cruiserweight, take a younger tag team, and then build it around that. So, like, I'd have Isaiah Scott.
I'd put fucking Punishing Martinez in, or whatever.
That was mine as the Farley of the group. Yeah.
I was going to say there's going to be a Farley thing. I think I'd rather have Damo. Like, I know he's not young, but also I think just in terms of build, he makes a better heavy than Punishment.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'd have as the Cruiserweight, genuinely? And I know this is going to make you go, what? Who? Really? Jack Gallagher.
Yeah, he's not doing anything, is he?
No, I can see that.
It's just this dastardly heel.
I think I'd rather have, because Gallagher can sort of go comedy way too easily, whereas I think someone like Isaiah Scott is sort of like the Sammy Guevara type thing, where he's just a cocky little bastard. Or Angel Garza, actually. They're both great. The tag team, who do you have as a tag team? Who's a tag team who's doing dick all right now?
I would have said the Mighty, but obviously
American Alpha.
True.
That's the thing. I love NXT's tag team that's sort of spoken for right now.
Just bring the Revival in.
Oh,
imagine them in like a Bullet Club style.
Oh, I'm a little bit aroused now. That's amazing.
I'm not headphones right now.
Anyway, moving on from War Games, we haven't even spoken about the big moment of the night. I mean, did anyone have that fifth member spoiled in the main event?
No, I managed to go the whole day.
And it was fucking amazing.
It was incredible. As soon as Kevin Owens walked out, as soon as his music hit, I was like, I got goosebumps. It was incredible.
Yeah. Goosebumps and the pop, that pop was unreal.
I must have watched it back 3 times. Just that moment, Kyle O'Reilly going, they haven't got anyone. They've got no one. And then, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Kyle O'Reilly's face.
Can we just agree that Kyle O'Reilly is low-key the best member of Undisputed Era?
100%. 100%. He's
Give the
great.
down to the ring bone. I was so sad.
Have
you seen the interview where Kyle O'Reilly was like tuning up the belt?
No,
Yes,
that's
I have.
amazing. My favorite Kyle O'Reilly moment, and there's been loads, but my favorite one is the first feud that Adam Cole had with Pete Dunne, and Pete Dunne says, "What have you done since you've been here?" Kyle O'Reilly takes his sunglasses off and goes, "How dare you!" And it's just incredible just how over the top and campy he is. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Moment, and you're going to say him, Mark, but it was in Ring of Honor. And it was Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly doing a Christmas segment. And this is when Red Dragon was still heels, and they were handing each other presents. It's like, what have you got me for Christmas, Bobby? Oh, it's the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. And then he hands over another one to Bobby Fish. He's like, what have you got me, Kyle? Oh, it's the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship.
They're great. They're great. And I love Bobby Fish. And he gets no recognition at all because he's in a faction with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly.
Because, to be fair, he used to be really charismatic, and then Roderick Strong came along.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Survivor Series, then, the following night. There was some highs, and there was some lows. Garth, did you watch any of Survivor Series? Don't think you did you?
Nope.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Then you can just weigh in with your opinions. Chris, you watched the women's match and Cole and Dunn, is that right?
Yeah, and I also watched the highlights of the rest.
Yeah. For me, I watched all of it for my sins.
Like a mark.
Yeah, like a proper mark. The women's match was probably the worst match. Both women's matches, actually.
Like, on the day, I had the deadline on Thursday, so I was like, okay, I'm going to take... And I was busy all weekend, either with the work or with my nephew's stupid fucking christening. And, by the way, the church was called the Immaculate Conception, so when it said on the big screen, welcome to the Immaculate Conception, I thought, what the fuck is going on here? But anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself half the Monday off, and I'm going to do something just for me. And then I looked at my phone, and Rob was like, Survivor Series is really good. I'm like, well, who am I to distrust Rob? And then that first fucking match, I've not been fun.
Should have mentioned that.
I would have rather shattered my hand and clapped than watch that match. Jesus Christ.
If that match could be summed up by one spot, there was a moment where every woman of every team got in and did a spot. And everyone seemed to do okay.
It's a WWE win, wasn't it?
Yeah. And even Dana Brooke managed to do okay. And then Sarah Logan did a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and it was the sloppiest piece of shit I've ever seen. It was dreadful, and the match never really recovered. It made no booking sense because you just had Io Shirai and Candice LeRae go through this hellacious War Games match.
Them two and Tony Storm are the best workers on the fucking thing, and you leave them with fucking Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair.
And they got taken out with an injury for, 15 minutes of the match after they'd been speared by Charlotte.
Yeah, and sort of like, fuck off.
It was nonsensical.
I somewhat understand you wanted like a screw finish for NXT or something. Because like the way this night was booked, it was like just NXT are heels. And it's sort of like, well, that really shows what fucking Vince is. But, I don't know, like, I don't think anyone properly there's too many bodies in this match and too many really bad ones, or like really boring ones. Like, Natalia is hella capable, but also like so boring. It's like hearing Garth talk about movies. And
Garth burn.
Mm.
That was such a serial killer laugh. That's amazing.
Oh god, I use my lift to Blackpool. I'm gonna die. So, and then you have the SmackDown team, which fucking Lacey Evans,
Dana Brooke, Carmella.
Wow.
Exactly.
No
like
way.
if like honestly, I cannot think of a worse free.
Was this a pre-show?
No. They moved the Undisputed Era versus War Machine versus the New Day to the fucking pre-show.
For this shit.
For that shit, yes, correct.
Yeah. And like, I'm not being funny. If you have a match, if you're trying to showcase like those 5 women, none of them had like a big spot apart from Rhea Ripley fighting back. That's literally and Candice and Io being taken out for no reason. There's so much you could have done. Like even like Io facing off against Asuka. That's such a dream match, and they barely fucking mentioned it. And like the commentary, I know they changed commentary a tiny bit throughout the night, but I know Corey Graves turned up. Like that fucking helps anything. But they somehow got the worst member of each commentary team.
At one point, we were left with Michael Cole, Beth Phoenix, and
Jerry Lawler.
And Jerry Lawler, yeah.
And I was watching this going, and Jerry Lawler very clearly did not know who any of these people who weren't on his brand were.
He'd got no idea who NXT were. No idea.
You know what? My dad would have done better, and he fucking hates wrestling.
So that was ridiculously slow and boring and not worth watching. I'm not going to go through the entire card because we've all got things to do and places to be. Bed, more specifically. But Garth. The match between Styles, Roddy Strong, and Shinsuke, I texted you, Chris, and said that that's the best I've seen Shinsuke Nakamura in years.
I saw the end, and to be fair, the entrance was really good, but that's not because Sami Zayn was fucking moshing in the background. Sami
Zayn moshing to Shinsuke's theme is absolutely fantastic.
Like, this crowd was clearly a crowd that hadn't watched the main roster in quite a while because they didn't realise that Shinsuke's theme changed a year ago.
But yeah, really, really, really good match. Shinsuke was vicious.
What do you think of the new IC title now, currently, while we're on this?
I like it. I've got no issue with it at all.
I have a weird. There's 2 parts of me where, like, one, it is an objectively very nice looking championship. It's very Japanese looking. It looks like an IWGP knockoff.
It looks a lot like the NXT ones. Like
that's
the UK one.
Actually, it's a bit like the cruiserweight title. It's like a more grandiose cruiserweight title. But also, as part of my brain was like the Intercontinental Championship always had a look. Like even like there's been 2 different designs, but both were sort of similar. So I'm sort of like just like the deviation is a bit to get accustomed to. But at the end of the day, it's a decent design for a product that I don't really watch. So I couldn't be angry all that long.
Yeah, fair enough. Other matches, Adam Cole vs Pete Dunne was decent. Very, very good match.
I think you giving it a 9 might be a bit high, but then again,
I didn't give it a 9.
I thought you gave it a 9.
No.
What did you give it?
I will load up the official PodMania ratings. Give me 1 second. WWE, and you can check these out for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, at podmania.co.uk.
Yes, you're giving it of how to do it, of how long it takes.
So we gave the Triple Threat 8, and we gave Pete Dunne and Adam Cole 8.
Okay, because 8's about what I'd give it. Yeah, it was really fun. I'm kind of annoyed they spunked this on with no build. Because with build, this match oofed. Honestly, if this same match had build, it would be a higher rated.
No, I agree. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out the 5th member of... Nikki Cross was the 5th member of the SmackDown women's team, and she got eliminated first.
She used to be so good. What the fuck happened to her?
She's still good, and she was the most over person in the match, and she got eliminated first.
Probably stop giving a fuck.
Yeah, probably.
Fucking, like, I'm fucking Raj, mate. Like, fucking, alright. Thanks for fucking perpetuating the Glasgow stereotype, because it looks like you're on some sort of fucking drug.
That's right, wait till I tell him this, and then he's going to go absolutely fucking mental. Universal Championship match, fun little nugget, 7 stars. We then got to the men's match.
What I'm saying, I'm going to flip. What happened to Drew McIntyre?
Hang on, nothing happened to Drew. Really, really good match. 8 stars. Reigns was the sole survivor, but everyone was fine with that because people apparently like Roman now because he's not fucking Seth.
Because he didn't die.
Yeah.
Remember last year where Seth was like the highlight of Raw or whatever because he was doing long matches? The thing is, he's like not a natural company man. Like Roman, you buy him as a company man. I don't buy Seth as a company.
Apparently, Roman is like the nicest man in the world. Seth just is a Twitter twat.
I know.
He's
like,
got no Twitter game at all.
At least with Will Ospreay, he's a bit shitposty. Like he refers to himself as sex pig or whatever, and like post pictures with Arisa Hashiki to annoy off B Priestley. But fucking Seth, like, I don't know. I'd rather add my dad on Snapchat than I would go through Seth Rollins' Twitter.
Right. Wait. Okay. So, Team SmackDown won after Keith Lee was just an absolute fucking badass. He was brilliant. Roman gave him the fist bump afterwards. Really, really good. Apparently, Vince is very high on Keith Lee, which means that Keith Lee will be relegated to jobber status within the year. Team SmackDown. I'm just going to read out the competitors for you. And then I'll ask you both if you can tell me who got eliminated first in this match. So, Team SmackDown, we had Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, Braun Strowman, and Shorty G. Let's not forget he's called Shorty G and dressed in basketball attire. We then had Team NXT, Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, and Walter. And Team Raw, which was Seth Rollins, Ricochet, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. God, let's start with you. Hang on.
No,
whoa.
No, going. If this is Walter, I'm going to be very upset.
Garth, who do you think got eliminated first in this entire match?
Walter.
Okay. Chris, who do you think got eliminated first in this match?
I will throw this bottle against the wall if it's Walter.
After receiving an enormous pop and having a chop exchange with Drew McIntyre, Walter was quickly dispatched with a single Claymore kick, pinned, and was the first to be eliminated. This is a match, don't forget, that included fucking Baron Corbin and Shorty G, but nevertheless, Walter was the first to be eliminated. It made me very, very happy to think about how annoyed Chris would be at this. Opinion, Chris.
Okay, so my last breakup didn't hit me this hard. To be fair, she was a bitch. But,
So was Vince.
It's a massive... Why the fuck? Why? Walter, one of the best in the world right now.
Correct, yes.
Like, such a unique role he's managed to get for himself in sort of the 70s foreigner heel. Like, he isn't as much a character as he is an ongoing threat.
Not in this, he was eliminated first.
No, not the fucking main roster, apparently. Fuck this whole UK division, which we've set up and sort of crippled the fucking British wrestling scene for. Fuck it. We'll have their fucking champion just job that. Who pinned him again?
In fairness, it was Drew McIntyre.
That doesn't make me any happier for some reason. It speaks very highly that my national pride has been overtaken by the fucking... Oh, fuck off. Fuck this. Life isn't worth living. I've literally not been so angry about a booking decision all year.
I really, really, really don't want to tell him that it was actually Baron Corbin that pinned him.
Actually, Baron Corbin?
Yeah.
Rob, don't fuck with me here. I'll go to cage match. Was this actually Baron Corbin that pinned him?
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Drew. It was Drew. It's fine. It was after a Claymore kick.
I've literally never been... I don't know why I'm this angry, but it just... Gee, I'm so irrationally angry right now. It's just like how racists feel all the time.
This is how Jim Cornette feels. When he sees the 50th fucking Toby.
Fucking... No, literally, because NXT UK has in many ways crippled the British wrestling scene.
Not in many ways, it just has.
Yeah, like it's forced youth movements in every place, and in some places can make that work, some places can't. Like business is down across a lot of the board. People aren't drawing half as well as they used to. But it's fine. We're just gonna take like the May face the face of that brand, and he's first eliminated in a match with fucking Shorty G. And like, I'm not being funny. It is the equivalent of, I'm so angry. I'm struggling to come up with a good analogy because I'm so fucking angry. It's the equivalent of complaining that you don't have a shiny new toy and then stealing someone else's and fucking it. That is what's just happened.
Why are you fucking someone's toy? That's a really weird thing to say.
Is it? Fucking is it? Has the last fucking half a year of hosting this podcast with me not clued you in that I do go to a lot of natural conclusions? That's not the biggest problem we're facing right now. Walter was the first fucking eliminated in rather quick fashion, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he offered little to no threat at all.
I don't understand this.
It was a really good match, though, like 8 stars. Genuinely really good. I'd encourage anyone to check it out.
You would have made it better if Corbin was eliminated before fucking Walter.
Corbin was the second to last person eliminated from Team SmackDown. Just going to quickly leave that nugget in there.
Because he's the king?
Genuinely, he's embraced that role superbly. He was great. Tagging himself in, stealing pins. It was brilliant. It was great. I know that Walter got eliminated fairly sharply, but it was fun. It was fun. You got the little bit of indecisiveness whether Kevin Owens was going to support Team Raw or Team NXT, and then Tommaso Ciampa eliminated him before anything could be done about it, and then patted himself on the back. It was brilliant. You got Keith Lee coming across like an absolute fucking dinosaur. It was amazing. Seth fucking off, which was also absolutely amazing. Randy Orton getting eliminated by... I can't remember who eliminated him. Wasn't Priest. Was it Riddle? No.
It was definitely not fucking Walter.
No, it wasn't Walter. No, because he'd been eliminated fairly sharply. It was someone from Team NXT, and then Randy Orton just turned around and RKO'd them anyway because he pissed him off. So yeah, it all in all, a really, really good match. Team SmackDown came out on top, gave it 8 stars. It was great. Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio, 7 stars. There was loads of really interesting stuff with Rey and his son. There was genuine moments where we thought Rey was going to take it. Genuine moments, not moments where we were like, it's going to be Brock. But then Brock wins. It still baffles me how strong he is, because I know Rey Mysterio is a tiny dot of a lad, but Rey Mysterio came off the top rope for a splash, and Brock caught him flawlessly on his shoulders and seamlessly hit an F5. And I know that's not the most astounding thing that happened over these 2 nights, but it still baffles me how strong. This is a man, don't forget, who picked up a referee who was on the floor by his trousers, picked him up and threw him into the ring one-armed. It just baffles me how strong he is. Anyway, so that got 7 stars as well. We then moved on to the main event, which was the women's triple threat, Shayna Baszler defeating Bayley and Becky Lynch. This was so dull.
Really?
I cannot even begin to describe to you anything that happened. There was no big spots. There was no... They seemed to be having 2 separate singles matches in one match. It was bizarre. Like, Bayley was the main focus of this match. You had a match where you had Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch, and it was centered around Bayley, and it never got going. It was so dull. And I couldn't get my head around. I mean, this went nearly 20 minutes. This went 18 minutes and 10 seconds. And eventually Shayna won. And it was so dull. It was so boring. And I hate to have, going back to what we said at War Games, it's the Shayna match. This wasn't on Shayna. It was worked more of at a Shayna pace, but this wasn't on Shayna. It was a plodding match. This was a Randy Orton if he didn't give a shit match.
No, it's a Randy Orton match.
So it's a Randy Orton match, yeah. It was, very, very dull. Overall, Survivor Series was probably WWE's show of the year.
That's not hard.
It's not, but give them credit where credit is due. You know, because they have not done a lot right this year, let's be perfectly honest. This was a decent show. It's like saying it's WWE's best show. It's like saying you have the shiniest turd in a dusty turd competition. Are they popular where you live?
I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. There's not like one of the biggest events of the year in our town is a rock stacking competition. So we just got a bear, and that's the big thing over here. And it's just a fucking bear, really. It's just a big metal bear, but apparently it's a big thing for Dunbar now. We like bears now. This was never a thing before, but now we do.
Sorry, was the bear a prize for this rock stacking competition, or?
You know what the Kelpies is?
Yes, of course I do.
Right. Okay, so like the guy who made the Kelpies made us a bear.
Yeah.
And
Chris, being 100% sarcastic, got no idea what you're on about.
Oh, the Kelpies are two big horse heads somewhere in the middle of Scotland. But there's like a big tourist attraction. They're very pretty. But also... I'll have you. Nice one. But no, we have a bear now. And it's all like, cool, we have a bear. It's just a bear.
Wow.
Goth, don't know about you, mate, but I've completely lost how we got to that point in the conversation. Genuinely completely forgot.
Another one of those swinging tangents.
Just
honestly,
unbelievable.
I'm not proud of it right now because I'm still really angry about what happened to Walter.
What happened to Walter, mate?
I'll fucking walk to Stoke and chop your cock off, Rob.
That's aggressive. And unnecessary.
I thought you said you were progressive, Chris. No, I said I'm aggressive.
So we have actually got a lot more topics on this list, but I'm feeling we should probably shunt some of these to the next podcast. So we will shunt some of those to the next podcast. But I want to have a word with you about AEW. Now, I know you two had a podcast not so long ago where you basically shot the shit. I imagine it went something like this, talking about bears and shit. But
I wasn't quite as angry.
Weird that. But AEW, we're now 9 episodes in. We just come off the back of Dynamite episode 9 from the Sears Center in Chicago, and off the back of yet another Jericho title defense. And I just wanted to get your general opinions and feelings regarding AEW, because I said I would give it time before I made a judgment. I wanted to see how they did. I wanted to see how they built after a pay-per-view as well. Because if rumours are to be believed, there are only going to be 4 AEW pay-per-views a year. They are not going to be monthly. And apparently Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear are going to be 3 pay-per-views yearly. So what that next one is going to be, who knows? There are rumours that Cody has trademarked Bunkhouse Stampede. Yeah. There's also been rumours that he's trademarked something. Is it Blood and Glory or Guts and Glory or something like that? I believe it's Blood and Glory. So
Guts and Glory be a bit of shit.
Yeah. It sounds like a really, really shit Splinter Cell or Call of Duty game.
It sounds like a really fucked up sex position.
Yeah, I suppose. Do you want to break out the Guts and Glory tonight? No, Chris.
I mean, fine. Fine, but we don't have a monkey. But we do have a butcher now.
We do have a bear and some kelpies.
No, I was trying to make a segue to the butcher and the blade.
Oh, well, I'll get to you in a minute. Garth, opinions on AEW so far? Not just the show, in general.
Impressive. I've enjoyed all the shows I've seen so far. Pay-per-views I've enjoyed. That last one was really, really good. I think I do think they need another title because they've got a lot of good talent who are just sort of, they're only really showing up on the pay-per-views or on the Dark show. But Chris Jericho's propelled it to the top. Wherever it is now, it's because mostly Chris Jericho, because he's fucking unbelievable. On the mic, he's the best in the business at the minute, bar none. Some of the matches on the weekly shows do go a little bit long, I think, and they're kind of sorting to get in the rinse and repeat kind of thing. I mean, the Pac versus Hangman, I don't need to see that anymore. seen it about 10 times. But overall, I think it's really good. I think Sammy Guevara's come from almost an unknown to being pretty big now, big player in that sort of division anyway. LAX have come through and gotten themselves across as heels, proud and powerful, whatever you want to call them. And they haven't had to rely too much on older or proper star power. Like Kenny Omega's lost every match, I think. The Young Bucks do their thing, they're good. But no, I'd be more interested in things like the stuff like Darby Allin and SCU, especially how they've sort of broke out Scorpio Sky recently. But have both of you seen the episode from this last week?
Yes.
That opening segment was fucking gold. It was up there with like Festival of Friendship style stuff.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Even with Virgil at the start, who bumbled over all his lines, still amazing. Still great.
How has Virgil made 2 appearances?
I think it's obviously like a link between Dusty and.
Well, that's the whole thing with Virgil, because Virgil's Dusty's proper name. So that's why it was called Virgil. And then when he went to WCW to rib back, he called him Vincent. So.
I think they're doing the right things. So I think on the negative, I would say the women's division's not been as good as I thought it was going to be.
With the women's division, it's weird because they have a lot of great women, like especially like Jamie Hayter. She's amazing. Bea Priestley, a lot of Joshies. They're focusing on the wrong people. Like there's a lot of focus.
It's the Freddie Mercury one who doesn't need to be on the TV every week.
Emi Sakura.
Yeah, but also she's someone who can very easily take a pin.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean,
but like, why the fuck is Britt Baker getting the push?
It's not. That's the thing, and it's not. Well, she hasn't even. I don't even think she's been on telly for the last couple of weeks either. And it's just, I think they're definitely pushing the wrong people, but they're also the matches that they use in their exhibition, their division, just aren't. They're really not up to scratch. I don't think they're not being great. And I can understand why people do. It's getting to the point where, like, well, on some of the things I've read, they're like, this is the piss break again. It's becoming that, and it's like, nah, it shouldn't be that. Yeah. But overall, I'm enjoying it, and I'm still watching those matches, hoping that we'll get good stuff. And they are the odd good pieces, but they are the sort of the drag. But overall, it's really good. I'm really being impressed with it.
Chris?
AEW is enjoyable. There's definite issues. For example, I think the decision to permanently ban Cody from going for the title again is a bad one, because what the fuck is he going to do for the next 10 years? Like, I'm not being funny. Like, I understand the thing of I am a president, so I don't want to be abuse my power, so I won't put the belt on me. That's as far as you need to go. Just saying to yourself, I'm not going to abuse my power. I will not put the belt on me unless the storyline demands it. That's fine. Don't put it in fucking writing, because fuck off.
This is where I think they will introduce another title.
Yeah, and Cody can handle that, and that's all fine. Yeah. But also, like, there might be a time in AEW's future where, like, every promotion finds this, where Cody needs to be the champion. Like, every promotion finds itself in the situation with something like this, where someone who's either in power or is best mates with the boss or whatever needs to be the champion. And, like, in that situation, right? Because we all know that Cody's not a selfish man. Cody is very giving to younger talents and stuff like that. So, like, putting it in writing that you can, like, even feuding with MGF is like a big thing. So, I don't know. I think that's a bit stupid. Also, 4 pay-per-views a year, well, I advocate for having less big shows. I think that's a bit too small. I honestly think something more like 6 or 7 is much, like, one every 2 months as opposed to 1 every 4.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot better. Especially since we're already starting to get sort of like aimless TV feuds.
That's what I was. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that's definitely something that.
Jericho and Scorpio Sky and the Butcher and the Blade coming in. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love the Butcher and the Blade. Have you two seen the Butcher and the Blade?
Never seen them when they came on. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Who are these?
Have you seen them, Rob?
I knew of them, but I only knew of them because the lead singer is the Butcher is the lead singer of. Is it Every Time I Die?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, it is because I only know they've shown up on Progress a couple of times when we've been in Canada, and they've brought up. And because I don't know Every Time I Die very well, but I've heard of them. I think I've seen them once, but I was very drunk. Anyway, like someone dragged me along. But anyway, dude comes out. I was like, "That dude looks familiar." But I don't know if I've seen him. I've probably just seen him at a random indie fed. And then Glenn Joseph's like, "Oh, he's just single Every Time I Die." It's like, okay, that's why I vaguely know his face, but can't put it to a face because I was very. Anyway, they're great. You'd love them. Like the Butcher's like a proper Stan Hansen bruiser type. So like, that's got Rob a bit hard.
You know how much I love that.
Yeah, like fucking be fair, I think Garth would love Stan Hansen if he actually tried him out.
I've seen Stan Hansen stuff.
Oh, of course you have. You saw him back in the Sportatorium back in the day. But
Went to school with him.
He was his teacher.
Yeah, he was a dick.
But on the Nov Women's Division, what the Joshi, I thought the Joshis were initially a really good idea because like Joshi wrestling is a style.
Shock.
And what the fuck was that? Right. And let me explain myself. I'm not saying it should be a main focus, but what I'm saying is Joshi wrestling is a style and it's something a bit different. So it would be something like the cruiserweights in WCW, or well, that's probably the best examples of cruiserweights in WCW, or like the X Division, where you have this little division put on style, and like Joshi style would be perfect for like an opener. And we've sort of fucked it with how we've booked the women's division because, like, again, they put the emphasis on completely wrong people, and it's just a shame. I will say also we do go too all out on TV with matches. Like Hangman does his moonsault to the outside every single time.
Hell yeah.
And like it's sort of like that should definitely be something you pull out. Like again, it's a very old school thing, but like it holds true. Save a lot of your big shit for pay-per-view.
Every match has a fucking outside dive. Every single one.
But that's it's not just that. Like a suicide dive, I'm fine with. The fucking moonsault, that should be a big thing. And but that's just one example. You know what it's like? It's like when Pete Williams would pull out Canadian Destroyer 4 times a month, and the 5th time he wouldn't pull it out would be on pay-per-view.
Well, that's it. It's like you tease it, but don't always do it. And
I think that's why people kind of get down a lot of AEW pay-per-view matches, because all this shit that should be a big deal has already just happened on Dynamite that week.
Mm-hmm.
And like, don't get me wrong, this is starting to affect a lot of places. Like NXT is the same. Like every NXT now is like a mini takeover, which like it's great week to week, but sort of dilutes takeovers. And like this isn't sort of a booking problem; it's more just an inherent problem of them not like the agents not telling people, "Hey, maybe don't do fucking everything." Mm-hmm. And I think like when you look at like the Full Gear, like the 2 main events, one was a match between Jericho and Cody, so like that was never going to be like reliant on like big moves. I was always going to be reliant on like emotion, because that's how Jericho and Cody wrestle. And then you had Moxley and Kenny Omega who tried to murder each other. So like, yeah, like you could definitely get like, for example, Hangman versus Pac. I think we gave that a 7. Like honestly, if they didn't do all these big moves every week on Dynamite, that could be an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's the fact that like they do these moves so often, and I that's sort of my main criticism. Really, there's too much with AEW. And like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. I don't agree with these fucking WWE fanboys on Twitter keep on talking about how like finding stupid shit. Like every criticism we put forward so far has been perfectly valid criticism. There's things they put forward are so stupid, and I don't know. Although I'm really glad the Young Bucks aren't properly pushing themselves. I'm really happy about that.
Okay, So, I hear everything you say. I think people saying that the AEW women's division is weak are wrong. It's not weak. It's not been booked well at all, and that I agree with. I don't think it's been booked well at all. And yes, I agree with you, Chris. Too much focus has been put on Britt Baker, who, yes, it's all very well saying, she's only had 7 years wrestling experience, or it took her. Has she had 4 years wrestling experience, or whatever? Anyway, the amount of time that she's been.
I'm not being funny, but 14-year-olds in Stardom are better than her.
I just feel she should have gotten slightly better than she is, and I don't think she is good enough. I'm not saying don't push her. I'm saying give her time on Dark, on the undercard, to build herself up, because she's not the person to lead your women's division forward. Now, other issues I have. I mean, you said, Chris, pointless TV feuds. The problem that you have is, if you are going the 4 pay-per-view a year route, then you are going to have TV feuds to stem the tide. And it's better to have feuds against, that mid-carder that you're trying to get over, like Scorpio Sky, than putting him against Moxley or someone, like Omega or Pac. You want to save those big matches for your pay-per-view. So rather than, I don't think they're pointless TV feuds. I think they're good ideas, because you've got to have feuds to get through the TV. If you've got 9 weeks of Dynamite before you get to the next pay-per-view, you can't just have the champion not be there for 4 weeks and then build towards the pay-per-view.
I guess, but when I sort of said I was more pointing towards the Cody and Butcher and Blade thing, because Cody and MGF should not be off of each other right now. I understand you have a lot of builds, and you don't want that every week, but also you can do that by just having you can just feature them on TV and have them be skirting around each other, having a full out feud now with Cody and Butcher and Blade and for Bunny for some fucking reason.
I love that. I think that's great.
Yep. Didn't see it coming either.
I don't know. I don't have an issue with it, because I agree with you, Garth. There's got to be, at some point in the near future, there has got to be a new championship, because if you look at the people who've got nothing going on at the moment, I mean, you've got Omega and Pac, who've just had their rubber match, and Omega's won. I think that was the wrong decision. I think to have the storyline where Omega can't get a win, I think that's a better storyline than have him get his win back on a pay-per-view. Surely that's a better story, but that's a personal gripe of mine. So you've got Pac, Omega, Hangman, MJF, Cody. You've got all these stars who haven't, Sammy Guevara, who don't have not anything to wrestle for, but there's no focus. And that's where the repetitive nature of these matches are coming from. I mean, on Dark, the opening match of Dark last week was Trent versus Pentagon. Now, that is a Dynamite level match, surely. I think they do need to focus more on women's booking. I think they're finding a lot of things out as well, because it's all very well saying you've got to save your big matches for pay-per-views. I mean, look at New Japan. They don't have the weekly show that, they just build their feuds up on a couple of Road 2 shows. You've got your pay-per-view. Whereas on Dynamite, and, it's what we find with Raw and SmackDown on a weekly basis, you've got to build your TV as well. And there's got to be stuff that keeps people coming back to TV. And rather than just having, a great Double or Nothing or a great All Out or a great Full Gear, you've got to have TV that A, makes sense, B, that isn't repetitive, and that's what they're trying to find at the moment. And I think the mid-card especially, they're struggling to find meaning without that title. Because, things like Pac versus Hangman, it's a great matchup. But, ultimately, you've got to have a focus for it. Otherwise, you're just doing matches for matches' sake, and that's not what AEW was about. The final thing was the moveset that you mentioned, Chris and Garth, about how you've got Hangman doing his moonsault every match. I agree with that. If you don't want it all the time, but if it's part of his moveset, that's similar to saying you see Seth's suicide dive every week. You do.
Yeah, but, like Hangman already has like dives and shit, and you know what it's like? It's like when Cien Almas would pull out the moonsault, someone moves away, and then he does another moonsault. They only do that in like big matches, or like he wouldn't pull it out every week. Like there's I understand this in your moveset, but I also don't have it happen every week. You don't have like you didn't have Kenta Kobashi hitting a burning hammer all the time, but that was in his moveset.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You look at this week, Omega against Pac. Omega didn't hit the One-Winged Angel. He won with a roll-up.
Exactly, and that's and the One-Winged Angel is much more integral to Omega's moveset than it is to Hangman. I just don't think, it's just sort of one example. It's actually the main example, because every time I see it, I'm like, this would be so much cooler. It was like a move you never... And I understand it's a very old school way of thinking, but also it's an old school way of thinking that I think worked. Because again, look at Angle, he'd never pull out a moonsault. So when he did pull out a moonsault, it was a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, again, I just want to stress that we all three of us really enjoy AEW. And
really... It's probably my weekly TV show of the year, so...
Yeah, I watch it weekly. I know Garth watches it more or less weekly. And Chris, I know you watch most of it weekly. I don't know if you manage to catch all of it every week, but you try to.
I try. Well, recently I haven't even had time to fucking start them, so...
I know. Oh, God, stardom. By the way, well done for lasting an hour and 21 minutes into the podcast before you started spaffing over how good Joshi was.
I said it's a style. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it's a good thing to have on there. They sort of just ruined their chance to have it be like the cruiserweights in WCW.
Oh, Joshi.
Fucking, that's not what I'm like. You're putting words in my mouth.
Quick question then, just to end this segment. All three of us have agreed that the women's division isn't booked correctly.
Yeah.
We've all agreed that Britt Baker, definitely not the face of the women's division. Who should that woman be? Go.
Oh, I have a opinion. Oh.
Go on then. No, Chris, if you've got... I knew you were going to say that, Garth. I knew you were going to say that.
What did he say?
He said Awesome Kong.
Of course you'd say it. I think with Awesome Kong, don't think she should be a face. I think she should be a looming threat.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Have you ever seen the OTT video packages with David Starr, Jordan Devlin, and Walter?
Of course we fucking haven't.
Like, it's not that deal. We have a lot. This is a fairly big thing. But anyway,
hang on, is this the same Walter that got eliminated first in the Survivor Series match?
I'm gonna find a way to get back at you. So in those video packages, they focus on Devlin and David Starr, but then have Walter as sort of this storm that could come in at any moment and fucking wreck you. I think that's what Awesome Kong should be. She shouldn't be a face of a division. She should be, at any given time, she could swoop down and fucking destroy everything. Yeah. She's like a Miller. She's fucking what Sting was to the NWO, basically, and I think that's what she should be for the women's division. I think you have 4 people you should focus on. Rhea right now, because she's the champion. I know she's not to everyone's taste. She's not that much to my taste. She's on the side of Joshi I'm not massive with how young she looks. She looks, I don't know, you two think I'm young, but Jesus Christ. Jamie Hayter, because she's great. She can do decent mic work. She has a good look, and just there's nothing about much wrong with her. Shida, because again, Shida, fucking great. And Bea Priestley, because Bea Priestley's the total package in a lot of ways. And she pulled a 6 out of 10 out of Britt Baker, and quite frankly, back to fucking feet. It's like dragging fucking me or Rob to a 6-star.
The issue that I've got with that then is you've got one face. Aside from Rio, who's the champion, you've got...
I think you could possibly do Bea Priestley face.
I don't think B could be face. I think Hater could be face if she changed her look just a tiny bit. Like, Hater could be like a Paige.
I don't see either of them as baby faces. I think they work too well as natural, especially B. You know, her entire thing is that she's a dick. She's half woman, half monster. And Jamie Hayter, I mean, her entire gimmick was shut the fuck up to the crowd. So I just feel like they are more natural heels, and I feel like they'd be more comfortable working heel.
Like the other big baby face in Kylie Ray is gone. I can't think of a better baby face they have right now.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to solve that on a podcast in one night, are we? It was just a question that, you know, we've said they're focusing on the wrong person rather than being negative about it. Who should they focus on? We'll have a think. We'll reconvene. Anyway, I think we'll leave the remaining topics for next week. So we'll have a look next week. It is an extensive list. We'll leave next week we'll have a look in more detail at the absolute shit show that is Ring of Honor, and we'll talk about NXT UK preview and things like that as we head towards NXT Blackpool 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, it's still fun, and we're having like an extra night there. We're going to get not so drunk because we do have a show to go to the next day, but it starts at 3 p.m. But still, we should go to the Pleasure Beach.
Okay.
In January.
It would be closed, won't it? Oh no, wait, no, that's just my code for what we do in Blackpool.
Oh, gross. Anyway,
it's January. Everything's gonna be closed. What Blackpool things can we do?
Drink and be sick.
Drink and sin. Okay, that's what we'll do.
Definitely said be sick. Did not say drink and sin. Two very, very different things.
From three very different people.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, listening to three idiots, you know, talk about utter bollocks. We do appreciate it. You can talk to us on Twitter at PodMania, Facebook at PodMania Podcasts. You can subscribe to the podcast on any audio platform. We are literally absolutely everywhere. Don't forget to check out the website, www.podmania.co.uk. You can find all our podcasts archived. You can find the Young Lion podcast. You can find the match ratings. You can find literally everything there. It is very, very well done, if I do say so myself. Also, the 8th of December is the closing date for our PodMania End of Year Awards. Thank you to everyone who has already voted. We've had a really, really good response to this, so thank you very much. The Wrestler of the Year category is getting particularly close between probably the two favourites in that category, but it's going to be very, very exciting as we head towards the closing date. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Garth, where can they find you?
At Gothamania.
Chris?
No, Goto.
Still funny. Don't change it.
How is it not old yet? By the way, I've realised I've been saying it wrong. The N-double-O Goto is some random guy in Nigeria. No, N-triple-O Goto is me.
Okay. Yes, do not tweet the random guy in Nigeria. Please tweet Chris if you want to tweet anyone.
I was trying to log into my Twitter and it's like wrong password. I'm like, what do you mean? So I click on like reset password and it's just not me. And it's like, oh, okay then.
Shit. A new episode of our Universe Mode will drop tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. It is the Go Home SmackDown before the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. The Young Lion podcast will be back on Wednesday at 10 p.m. GMT with myself and Chris.
I need to talk to you about my last deadline for unis this week, so I can't do this week either.
That's fine. I will do one on my own. It is absolutely fine.
Just Rob.
And again, we will move back to our usual regularly scheduled program with the PodMania podcast next week. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
You've been listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at PodMania, Facebook at PodMania Podcasts, and YouTube and Instagram at Real PodMania. And check out the website podmania.co.uk. Until next time, wrestling fans.